So in this video, we're going to learn how to update the firmware in the Musical Mushroom Whisperer. So the firmware is basically the software that operates inside the computer to make this unit function. Sometimes there are bug fixes and functionality upgrade that require you to update the firmware in order to have that new functionality. This is free of charge. You just need to follow these instructions to download the latest version and apply it to your product. So there's a separate video if you want to do this for your musical mushrooms. This video is specifically for the Whisperer. So unlike on the musical mushroom where we have a speaker where we can go through the menu and hear the currently installed version, there is no speaker on the Whisperer. So we have to find out what the currently installed version of firmware is through the USB port. So that's step one, is we want to know what version we're at now to decide if we need to upgrade or not. So the first thing we're going to do is we need a Mac or a PC computer, a USB cable. You can use the one that came in your kit or a different one so long as it's a Type-C. We're going to plug one end on your computer and the other end right here. Next thing we're going to do is hold down the color button. Keep holding it down and we're going to turn on the unit while holding it. And then the LEDs will become blue. And as you see on my computer desktop, a drive letter has popped up with a file called config.txt. So that's the configuration file for the Whisperer that contains all the information. So if I double click on it, towards the top right here, it says firmware version. So mine right now is at 0.0.3. So now I know what the firmware version that I have is. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go on the Musical Mushroom website right here, and I'm going to go on the support page, and right at the bottom there is a video that will be uploaded shortly that will describe how to do the firmware update. But the important part is at the bottom here, this is the firmware update file. Currently, it's at version 1.0.1, so that is a newer version than I have, so I definitely want to update it. If you want the whole history of the releases and what changed, it's available down here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click the download button. And I have a PC, so it's downloaded it onto my downloads folder. And it's downloaded it as a zip file. So it's very important. We want to unzip that. So right click and go extract all. Extract. And then we have finally the binary file. So the .bin file. So it's mmw_fw_ some numbers .bin. So that's the file we're going to need. So I'm going to just put that aside for now. And I'm going to minimize everything else. So I'm going back now. I'm going to close my config file. Okay, so I'm going back to the original window that popped up, my drive letter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bin file and I'm going to just drag it onto this other drive. Now, this process takes up to 5 minutes to transfer. There's a lot of information that gets transferred from the PC onto the Whisperer. It does not update the information % complete very well. It'll say 0% complete for a while, then it'll jump up to like 60%. Just be reassured, it is working. Just do not touch anything, do not X out of it, just walk away. Walk away, come back in 5 minutes, and it will be done. Okay, so I'm gonna pause this video and I will come back once it's completed. Okay, so in my case, it took about 3 minutes to copy the file. And now we can see that this file, the .bin file, is on the mass storage device copied here. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to switch off. We're going to unplug the USB cable. And now we're going to turn it on again. When we do, the Whisperer will detect, there's a new firmware file onto my storage device. It's going to do an integrity check. If everything's good, the name is correct, the version number is higher than the one that it had already, then it will proceed to updating itself. And it'll show a status bar from 0. The white LEDs will go until 100%, okay? So if you don't see that, it means something went wrong. So you can start over and try the procedure again. So I'm now going to switch it on. And we're just going to wait. Okay, so we see this, it's just doing the update now. It's almost done. And it's completed. It's rebooting. And there you go. Now we have updated firmware. So I'm going to just confirm that it is updated by redoing the same thing as I did initially to check the version number. So I'm plugging in the USB. I'm going to hold the color, switch on, let go, and now we go. So you'll notice that the bin file is gone because when it updates itself, it then deletes the bin file. It's no longer necessary. But we now see the config.txt. And here we go. In the firmware version, now it says 1.0.1. So we have the latest firmware updates. And that's how you update the firmware on your Whisper.